Okie dokie, ladies, gentlemen, and others in chat, welcome to another drawing stream. And today we are going to revisit the basics of perspective and boxes, because I revisited the manga page that we did on the last stream. Yeah. And I kept looking at the first panel, which was the establishing shot of like the cityscape, and it just felt off for me. Might have skipped too far ahead with things. It felt just, I don't know, basic and lifeless and too simplistic, and it's not necessarily so much about perfectionism, or at least I hope it's not about perfectionism, but I just go like, I wish to push myself beyond the fringe, or not necessarily beyond, but to the fringes of my own comfort zone. And to do that, I felt that at least that panel was it wasn't quite there, if that makes sense. Like, I could do better. Of course, this is a reoccurring pattern in my drawing. This is like, you draw something, I go like, it's terrible. It's probably terrible because my boxes and cylinders, my fundamentals are bad. I circle back to the fundamentals, but I don't progress beyond the fundamentals. So I would like to try sort of like push myself towards that and not just settle for, you know, because in the panel it was like, and something like this, and you go like, yay, a skyscraper. And yeah, but at the same time, no. Like, this is a frustrating thing when you go to like YouTube and art tutorials and so on and so forth. So many people go like, it's the fundamentals. I'm just gonna go off on a little bit of rant here, but it's all about the fundamentals. Like, it's all about the boxes and cylinders, as if that will magically solve all of your problems. But let's see, I dug up some references here. So if we crank up the visibility for these, they go like, yeah, it's just boxes, right, chat? But there's more to it than just boxes. And that's kind of where it stops for me. Like, I need to be able to edit my boxes and go beyond just the basic boxes. I need to be able to have them interlock, overlap, add to them, remove, extrude, and what is it? Extrude and intrude, is that it? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. So also basically just finding a process of something that works, something that will help me go from a blank canvas to something finished. So, where do we even begin? And hopefully this time it will be different, because like a thing that sort of resonated with me with the YouTuber Broken Draw, I think that's his name, is he a while back he gave out this free book of like 25 drawing exercises that has helped him elevate his art. And I got like, cool, awesome. And a thing that really resonated with me from that book was just to go like, these aren't like, please don't grind these exercises until the heat death of the universe kind of thing. That's not what he wanted us, anyone to do. Instead, he wanted to go like, treat them instead of medicine. Like, try to draw something and you will fail, and that will expose gaps in your knowledge, gaps in your understanding, and use that and come to this book and see if there's an exercise that you can do to help remedy it. Like, treat it as a medicine. Like, okay, you're sick, this is, you know, here's your aspirin or whatever. That will elevate, treat you, heal you from that particular symptom. At least that's the theory, anyway. A game theory, chat. That's probably... That's not a dated reference at all. So... And also just... So, if we just... And also kind of what we did with the... excuse me. Horse... horse study session we did last Tuesday. I tried to figure out how to draw a horse. This whole sketching method kind of that I stumble upon as a happy little accident. Right. So if we are going to add, so we're just going to try and implement that as well, or iterate on it, I suppose, or reinforce it. And hopefully, you know, that would be, this will sort of, by being a little bit more controlled in my attempts of remedying whatever issues I have, hopefully I will be able to be a little bit more you know, direct and, you know, solving the problem, which in turn got me really rethinking my streaming schedule, because now it's just 3 days a week. And I might continue, may very well continue with that, at least out the year, question mark. We're in the tail end of 25 anyway. So, which is a horrible thing. So let's just do 10 players instead. Combining things that we learned. That is always good. You'll love to see it. There's a corner there. Maybe I should just draw. Yeah, I draw through. Let's draw through our shapes, chat. That is a good trick. Because now we can draw through our layers. Because we are working in a non-destructive way. That will sort of help us clean stuff up. Right. So even though it's quote unquote just a sketch, I like to just warm up, excuse me, with some a little bit more advanced box drawing than your run-of-the-mill box. Of course, this is like a bit boring isometric perspective, and also boxes in, I think I've been overdoing it with this, like boxes in isolation instead of like boxes in a, I don't know, unified perspective. And this perspective, the perspective of this box is completely off. Maybe, well, maybe we can just salvage it by just pivoting it, yeah, something like that. All right. Oop. And if we then, in theory, come in with like a, I don't know, tenor, unlock our sketch layer. And another thing that I sort of experimented with was just like, yeah, this is straight, and because it's perfectly straight and there's no line weight or anything to it, like it lacks soul, for lack of a better term of it. How can we work around that? Now, of course, you can just make fancy inky G-pen with pen pressure sensitivity and all sorts of fancy stuff, but I also kind of like, I just found we just do this. Boom, instant tapering effect. And I go like, that's kind of neat. That could work. Of course, like we're just eyeballing perspective here. But this is the corner that is closest to us, so that is the biggest. Needs to be the biggest. I don't know, we could call this inks. If I could spell, that would be great. And and working on temp layers, the big advantage is, of course, you can just work a little bit non-destructive like this. They're converging somewhere. And something like that. And well, if we just draw them, it's, I mean, you could just do it like, let's do it like, maybe that is, hang on. That might be just a little bit too much, but we can just have it tape taper just a little bit. Just a little bit, chat. How are you guys doing anyway? We have a whole whooping crowd of 2 people in chat. That is pretty crazy. For my kind of stream anyway. Woo, that was... So, well, thank you for stopping by. I hope my fumbling and bumbling around rambling about art is somewhat entertaining. If not, hey, enjoy the music. Well, just doing some wheezy warm-ups. While also, yeah, then you go like you get tapering there and there, and you get this little chunky section in the middle, emulating line weight or varied line weight. Basically, speaking, more or less. It's the corner that is sort of like furthest away from us, and and another, how to say, happy little accident that I discovered is that you can, like, when you are erasing, you can like almost like literally that, and you get like this broken line that is still connected. Maybe that could also work. And also don't get too attached to the sketch. That is not the point. So yeah, I might, with the manga panel, I think that I just jumped too fast ahead and I went to inks way too soon, and I also haven't like really properly figured out a inking process, so I kind of put the cart before the horse, as it were. Isn't that how the saying goes? I think that's how the saying goes. So a bit of a existential crisis with like, oh yeah, well, you shouldn't draw from reference, but you should draw from reference. But if you're drawing so much from reference that you are dependent upon reference, then is that good or is that bad? How do you get out of that? And all sorts of, am I a fraud for using references to the extent, you know, what is an acceptable amount of reference usage, basically. And what are you supposed to do in the meantime when you don't you can't draw from perfectly from imagination? Do you even have to draw from imagination, or is it okay to like very faithfully replicate a reference, or you're just a glorified photocopier. Yeah, interpret the reference and like, all right, well, how do I know that my interpretation is quote unquote correct, or am I just like, no, that's not my interpretation, I make, when it's instead it is a genuine, when does something stop being a genuine stylistic choice and you go like, no, you're just puffing and puffing that copium because like you can't draw hands or whatever. How do we do that? How do we wrestle with that, chat? I don't know. Yeah, that's not a good. And I don't know. Sometimes it feels like that maybe it's not necessarily my place to say, but stuff like that is kind of like, might not necessarily be the most cheerful my subject matter, but I gotta think that is low-key important. How people deal with that, respond with that. Yeah, and that frustration you feel, justified or otherwise, because they're like, oh yeah, you just draw a box. They tell you in excruciating detail how to draw the box and explain perspective and so on and so forth, and those are important, don't get me wrong, but so many art tutorials out there, it's go like, it feels like, then you just draw the rest of the freaking owl. And I'm like, you kind of sped run the whole 37 something steps, and it's one of the steps in among those 37. That's kind of what I'm low-key after. So and like, again, I get it, I don't necessarily blame them for it, because like it's easy, it's digestible, easy to understand. But and it is important, but it's also like, I also think that it's, maybe it's just me, the horse that complains that like they don't teach me how to drink. Like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, so maybe. And this one is absolutely an absolutely horrible box, but whatevs. We are just... There we go. How does that look like the moment we turn off the sketch? Not terrible. The perspective is probably way completely out of wonk, but that just took us a half an hour. A half an hour warm-up, that is way more than it deserves. Alright. Well, we can just keep those two layers, actually. Inks and sketch. Alright. So, Broken Draws mentions scaffolding when it comes to practicing things. So we're just gonna do some 2-point perspective. And we're just gonna create some, yeah, we're just gonna create some basic guidelines. Again, the scaffolding is simply just a reference to oh, not perspective. What is it? Vanishing point. Bink. It's called like how you sort of gradually add. You start with the maximum amount of support, and you gradually remove support as a way of sort of raising the difficulty and pushing yourself up. So alrighty then. Then we have our vanishing point over here, and let's just start, I guess, with some boxes. And the important thing here is just go like, not to keep, again, don't necessarily want things to be pretty. We want things to, the important thing here, chat, is to sort of, don't, we sort of put an emphasis on the boxes that overlap one another in the same perspective, and sort of what, drawing through our forms as they were, like that. And then sort of like, if we're gonna soft erase this, that'd be great. And fix that. Yeah. And not the eraser this time. Maybe we can have this one a little bit higher. There's a running joke in my humble art community. I would get at some point sued by Walt Disney because I keep quoting Star Wars. Right. And what if we have a small box over here? Right. It's amazing how I have just a magical ability to just alright, we don't need this. Go away. Suppose drawing this is not super exciting either. Go away. You stupid, obnoxious box. It's not pretty, but It's not supposed to be pretty. Let it go. Alright. It's just a sketch. And like it might not necessarily be the best box of an example. Okay, let's see. Because a struggle of mine is to go like, one of my many struggles is to go like a box on top of another box kind of thing. That one is more. There we go. There we go. Again, I do not know why that is a thing I struggle with. I guess it's just one of those things that I simply didn't practice enough back in my draw box days. All of this is basically just things that come back and bite me. Gaps in my knowledge because I don't know how to do that because I haven't practiced it enough. You get cocky, you get overconfident because you go like, oh yeah, I know this. I know this thing. No, you don't. You don't. You think you know, but you don't know. Should have recognized that. You know, I do remember like it was very, because when I started, I joined ArtWad. And like one of the requirements in for ArtWad, at least back then, was just go like, yeah, you need to be able to draw things freehand in like I think it was just a 1-point perspective, kind of like, which is yeah, what this is. And I remember that's insulting. I know how to do that. I grind it through Drawbox. I know perspective. But I go like, yeah, but you need to do it freehand without any tools like I'm doing, not like I'm doing here. And go like, oh. And yeah, that humbled me. But of course, it's the eternal tug and pull between like, all right, how much. Well, it's not necessarily so much of a tug and pull because basically you're supposed to do like, this is the boring fundamental stuff. But at least my own humble personal philosophy is like, you do this until, and you do just this until you have a decent grasp of it. But then you move on. Like you don't abandon it. Instead, you're supposed to just use this, which you now are somewhat confident, hopefully somewhat confident in, to draw more, use them as a foundation to draw more complex stuff. And that is not what I did. I kind of did it, but I also, at the same time, I didn't do it. Because I wanted to do figure drawing, and I go like, I don't want to draw boxes. I don't want to draw a blender or a coffee maker, or like draw a box and then turn that box into like the foundation of a coffee maker. I didn't want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to draw everyday objects. Spoilers, I should have drawn everyday object. It's one of those things you go like, oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, I need to draw this one up here, and then down there. And trying to think in 3D, and you go like, yeah. Question is, of course, how does this translate to a cityscape? And yeah, we'll see, chat. We'll just have to wait and see. Do a really long vertical and just stop caring. Okay, that works like that, and just loosely erase. And let's I think that yeah. Oh. All right, yeah, that was maybe that's a little bit too. Okay, well, we can do it like that. Do it like that. Trying to learn how to use the ruler. Right. No, we don't need this. To better show. Right. And that was bad. That was a bad spot for it. We don't want you to be a tangent. Yeah. All right, so yeah, you kind of just, yeah, we can just stop you with that. And ideally, you would kind of like do stuff like line weight and stuff like that to better show what is in front of what, but we don't do that. All right. Yeah. So, with regards of restructuring my sort of art streams, I'm not gonna give up on the manga I'm trying to make, but I might, because the way that I'm kind of like thinking of it now is to go like, yeah, let's do art. Let's do work on the manga on Fridays and Sundays, and then I have like tutorial Tuesdays. And the idea originally was to go like, oh yeah, I will just take a break and I will just pick a cool little tutorial of something that I found on Pinterest or whatever, and I go like, yeah, let's draw the thing, a cloud or a skyscraper or whatever, and practice that. Could be fun. Learn something. But then sort of shifted as I started with the manga, starting with the actual panels on the first page, I kind of things shifted. I started with the horse and go like, all right, I don't know how to draw horses, so I'm going to use Tutorial Tuesday to sort of like start cutting my teeth at it. So the cycle that is in my head now is go like, I would like to stream more or more frequently, question mark. But I would also like to I would also like to excuse me, but the original plan still makes sense. That I use, that I work on the manga, and as I sort of run into an issue, all right, I don't know how to draw buildings, or I don't know how to do X, Y, Z. I'll sort of do what I'm doing now, sort of like studying and trying to figure out, okay, how can we best solve this issue that I'm having. That's a lot of boxes. And in doing so, hopefully, we'll get a little bit closer and better at understanding, not necessarily a perfect, flawless Renaissance master of the thing, but enough that I go like, all right, now at the very least now, I'm not a complete and utter noob, if that makes sense, right? I have some mileage under my belt, I have some understanding, I've done some analysis and so on and so forth. Improving by progressing. The manga is not going to be pretty, it's not going to be perfect, but I would certainly like to finish it. Definitely not going to be able to finish it by this year, as I just started. But it could be a fun project to set for like 2026, next year. New Year's resolution, let's frickin' go. I don't know. Could be fun. Because I would really like to get out of the slump, the gutter that I'm in. Okay. Let's just... it's just more of this again, more of the same, I guess. It's just now it's just a little bit more apparent, so to speak. Hey. Hey. And yeah, the doubt kicks in. Like, am I learning anything, or am I just... Are we learning, chat? I don't know. That's low-key the scary part. Like, am I just goofing around? I don't like this. The doubt, the doubt, the insecurity. I don't like it. I really don't like it, chat. Well, what can we do? Fumbling around, trying to make sense of it all. Oop, too far. There we go. Yeah. All right. Now, if I turn off snap to single line. No. Snap to assistance. Here we go. Now we can weed. All right. So now we sort of leveling up, chat. We still have our guidelines, we still have our supports, but we are freehanding it. We are no longer locking. We're no longer locked in. So let's see if we can do this more or less freehand, and see if we can. Oh boy, this is gonna be ugly. That is not. And of course, we gotta let go of the perfectionist in oneself. Which is another exercise in and of itself. Yeah, let's... Okay, we can do this. This is a good exercise, chat. We're sort of freehanding it, but at the same time trying, because then we can go over it on the inks layer with the brush. Lockdown. Oh my goodness, this feels like draw box all over again. I should have done this maybe. All right. Try not to be too... And parallel, kind of cheesing it by using the edges of the page there to... more or less, I think those are pretty parallel. A secret to like drawing boxes that feel quote-unquote alive is, you know, there's a margin of error. Like, they're not perfect, but there's a flaw in them. They don't need to be in perfect perspective, they just need to be quote-unquote good enough. Good enough that you can sort of go like, that your brain will sort of like compensate and autocorrect the... Unless, of course, if you want or need that perfect alignment, then of course go for it. But then, by all means, use the rulers, use the tools that you have at your disposal. That is too far. And it's not straight. Alright. Let's just crank this sucker up, and soft erase this. And I would like them to be messily erased. And we will just go over them with, I don't know, 20, probably good. Snap to assistance, there we go. There we go. Oop. Okay. That could be something. Alright, that was too steep. But, you know, it's not necessarily... Ooh, that one was pretty much spot on. But I missed... Come on. There, about there? Yeah. Flat out. Flat down. Flat out. Nope. Go down diagonally until about there. It's also about learning how to philosophical musings, but you know, find yourself and also find out how the tools of the trade work, not just go like, oh yeah, look at that. Like if I... Oh yeah, that one was really off. Probably not passing grade. But, oop, way too far. There we go. Oh yeah, that corner was way off. Not converging nearly enough. Alright, Mr. Corner Box. What are you up to? The corner just goes off. Oh, pooey pants. I mean, the whole line there was wrong. Oh well. I do know that the further, both the further away you get from the vanishing point and also the closer you get to it, you get these weird distortions, so maybe that's why that one turned out funky. Or I'm just huffing copium as usual, who knows. Yeah. I mean... Ah. Alright. So... I'll throw those into the trash, and... Another thing I would like to try to do is extrude more complex shapes. And you know, you just basically you start with a, I don't know, shape like this. Let's try something a little quasi-simple. Alright, let me just clean this up a little bit. Just a smidge. More for me to just, again, iterate on my sketching method, getting it into my skull by sheer repetition, mileage. Like, start loose and then tighten it up a little bit, clean up the lines. Right. So now we can just, thankfully we have this perspective tool. Whee! Right, so now we have it, congratulations, we have it in perspective. Now, the idea is basically we need to extrude the sucker. Maybe I shouldn't have started with that line. We should have. Or we could have started with that line, but let's just start with this line instead. And just go like, yeah. Yeah. Iterate on the workflow with temp lines and temp layers and temporary lines and all of that jazz. And then we need a converging line. Something like that. Alright, well, we're trying to figure out somewhat how this works. Because if we can do this, then basically we can use this as a foundation to create more complex and buildings and stuff. That's the theory, chat. And also, of course, another approach is to start with a box, and then approach it almost like a wood sculptor would. Right? They start with one chunk of wood, and then from there they sort of just chip away at it, trim away the excess. Now I started with a sort of like quote unquote complex shape, but you could also draw a box in perspective like this and then trim away the excess and reverse engineer it that way. looks much more correct. Which means we need to get rid of that corner. Right. We get something like that. Boom. Beautiful. Let's see if we can do the wood sculptor approach here. Let's just draw a box. We can start simple with a top lid like that, but let's just really bring it down here. Yeah. Something like that. And have it converge. That is a really... no. Nope. Let's just... again. Keep... let's just keep it simple, stupid. Might not necessarily be the most exciting stuff, but again, the important thing is not necessarily to get too fancy. As annoying as it is, as much as I would like to sort of go into the fun, sexy part of drawing. Here we are. Because there are gaps in our knowledge and we need to address that. Or I need to address that. If I want to get better at this stuff. And I would very much like to, chat. I would very much like to. Not gonna lie. Alright, something like that. And then we can we can soft erase it. So now we sort of have our quote-unquote perspective. From this, we can see if we can carve... let's try and carve out that shape right here, just for the heck of it, right? Okay. So if you sort of imagine this one has sort of been flipped down on its side, how would that work? Well, it's pretty narrow on the top there, so we'll just draw a line like that. And obviously that line needs to be aligned with the perspective that we've established. Kind of important. And then we are just going to solve, because now since we've solved the overall general perspective, in theory, we're just gonna like, now you just need to put the chip away at it to make the more complex shape. Which in theory should solve our dull city problem, right? And it goes roughly down about here. I'm kind of just eyeballing in here. If you really wanted to do the whole draw box engineer kind of thing, you would find the center of this box and you would find, you would use, I don't know, like what is it there? And then probably like that. So yeah, it's roughly speaking at the halfway point. So yeah, it probably needs to go probably a little bit something like this. Let's see that. Let's just say it like something like this, chat. Something along these lines right here. See what I did there? That was a pun. Lines, get it? Oh, never mind. All right. Right, and then it kind of tears out like this. Let's just trim it down. I suspect that this one needs to be a little tilted a bit like that, maybe. There's math and angles and stuff that you could do to get this right, but my experience, that's kind of stuff that just leads to perfectionism, and I don't have time for that. But we do know that this line ends here, so because it does not exceed the right, so yeah, and then we just erase it. Of course, this is a painstaking process, but if we do our homework properly, chat, we're gonna get it. And I think, I suspect that is why the manga panel didn't turn out properly, because I did not do my homework properly. I did not go through the steps. It's almost as much as me learning, or not necessarily learning, but expanding this, also as much as it is me trying to find a process that will allow me to go from blank canvas to finished product and not skipping ahead. Like, these are the steps that I take, and this is the process, this is the road. This is a road I've taken many times, and it will lead me towards a quote-unquote satisfying end result. This is a process that works for me. It might not necessarily be everybody's cup of tea, chat, but if it works for me, guess what? I'm happy. Could be that. It could be that the initial, the initial perspective is off. But that's on me again. And now it's just that last L shape, basically, which is basically adhering to the perspective that we've already established. So let's frickin' go! Alright. And, keeping it loose, keeping it ugly. Remember the cake baking analogy. Was it Scott Harris? Was that the name of the guy? Yeah. Anyway, he used the analogy of like baking a cake. Nobody cares that you make turn your kitchen into an absolute war zone. Nobody cares about that. Like, if the cake that ends up on the table is good and looks good and is tasty, then nobody cares that the process is ugly and messy and you have a pile of dishes to do after the fact. Don't worry about that. right? Because nobody sees that. Says the wannabe, says the wannabe artist dude that is streaming his entire process, and all of these hideous lines. Look at that. That is an ugly ass line. But that's, you know, also a that's not what I wanted to do. It's also just practice embracing the imperfections. It's a good way of, at least I think it is a good way to kill the perfectionist in you. Well, go like, yeah. All right. Not too separate approaches to the same. I don't think I can align this so that it fits. That, all right. Oh, hang on. What I should have done is obviously I need to move you over here and move. Obviously, the corner. Oh, look at that! The corners and height matches, but it doesn't match in terms of orientation. All right, because this edge should have been there, but whatever. Yeah. Oh, that was fun. It was so fun that we were gonna do another one. Let's try some. Again, challenge ourselves a little bit. Let's try. Hang on. It's easier if we draw it. Easier if we draw it straight on, and then we use the perspective distortion to get things. Let's do this. Perspective. Let's not be a coward. Oh, that is a very distorted perspective right there. All right. That's our initial line, so we're just gonna have to, you know, extrude this bad boy. And this one points downward, so that means that this line needs to be further down than this line, because that's how perspective works. I'm just voicing my thoughts, chat, both to myself and to you, because I don't have the most entertaining things to talk about. Plus I only have one brain cell, so there we go. Alright, we'll just... And yapping and drawing is just not exactly my... At the same time, it's not exactly my strongest suit, especially when I'm problem solving. Or attempting to problem solve, as it were. Alright, and so there's an edge here, and this line goes up. So, because I went to town with the perspective distortion, so yeah, let's do it. Converging, good, good. Love to see it. I know the lines are supposed to be ugly, but like, god dang, they also need to convey. Are they also converging? The perspective of this one is really funky, so. And now comes the fun part. Okay, like I have no idea how this would work because I'm an idiot and don't really know how perspective works in this manner, so we're just gonna eyeball it with a. We're just gonna curve this line outwards a bit, like that, like such. And then, yeah. We're just gonna. Let's see where this takes us, chat. Let's just throw something on the canvas and see if it fits. That's a good strat right there, if I dare say so myself. I mean, it's certainly warped, I'll give you that. Is it correct? Probably not. But it's so cursed that we'll just... I think we'll just leave it like that. Complex shape. But, I don't know. Alright, I'll say, doesn't he have, he has some examples of, like, arch. Oh. Triangle. Alright, let's see that. We can do something like that, chat. He had like a triangle, little house thingamabob here. And then, yeah, it went inwards a little bit, as triangles often do. It's not going to be to scale, but I don't care. And then, essentially, I think you just add like, get a box. He had a box. Puts a box at the bottom here. If I minimize you, there we go. So, yeah. Collapse it. And we have like a line here. Collapse it. And we have an arch. Collapse it, and it essentially goes up again. And then it connects. Like such. Yeah. Alright. It's not exactly the same shape, but it's close enough. Oh. And we need to distort it. In perspective, please. Something like that. There we go. And we shall extrude. And extrude we do, and extrude we shall. Well, like that. Oh. Nice tunes. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Do a few more of these, and then I'll see if we can't move on to like the grand exam and actually try to do some buildings and see if we can. Gotta get a feel for it first, I guess. This one needs... Will it look right? Don't get too... Learn to let go. Gotta learn to let go, chat. Ooh, that's a dark line. That's okay. That's okay. That is not the same angle. Let's see if we can... I think it needs to be a little bit further out. And now we can start erasing and trimming away the excess. We gotta go one layer down, trim away the excess here. Be a little bit careful with that. There we go. Who's a good shape? You are a good shape. Alright, that was not creepy at all. Now I think I need to actually draw through my shape to find the edge. So if we... That's that. Alright, and then we have this line, which will be visible, so we can make that nice and dark. And although it's Not something that we should be thinking about at this stage. We can also... There's the... It needs to adhere to the perspective, which it does. Roughly speaking... Oh, look at that. That's not bad for an eyeballed perspective. If I may say so myself. Okay. Now comes the tricky part. The arch. Oh, is this the... No, that's not the right orientation. That is the right orientation. To best find that one, we're just gonna have to draw through. And now we can try and mimic the arch like such, and then not completely erase it, but erase it enough. Not... You know what? I'm not fully convinced that that is the right curvature of it, but I'm not gonna fry my brain cells to just to find out. Not for a basic exercise. Hydration check. Gotta stay hydrated, chat. Alright. Where are we at? Oh, an hour and a half. Holy smokesy pants. Ah, that's not what I wanted. We could try this one more time, but do it with the wood carver, wood carving strat, just for giggles, I guess. Like, it's long. It's not going to be to scale, but we don't care about that. The point is just to get things to look wood carver, or what do you call it? Sculptor. That's the word I was looking for. The English language, am I right, chat? Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. Okay. And it's not... Well, it is. That's a chunky, good chunk of depth right there. So that is closest to us, and if we want a vanishing point, we want to have it down here. It's further away from us, so it needs to be shorter. And, you know, that's how that works, chat. Bada bing, bada boom, and there we go. Perspective. And this sucker needs to be shorter than Mr. Giga Chad over here. This is, in case anybody was wondering, this is not how you would normally go about architecturally drawing anything. There we go. But it gives you a very nice... Again, I like these lines. They're messy, but they have a... how to say? A soul to them. That I like. Alright. A little bit messy. Deliberately messy and uneven erasing. And now, chat, we need to figure out... how the heck? I suppose, like, the easy way is to take this thing here and put it on this side. And then we have, right? So this will be our side, top, or front, I suppose. Front. Right. Right, okay, so it's not wider than that, and it's not wider, you know, so that, okay. And it doesn't have, again, doesn't have to be perfect, chat, doesn't have to be perfect. And I don't think that this is, I don't even think that that is the center, so it doesn't even have to be the center. So we're just gonna, you know, we're just gonna have to start, chat. We're just gonna have to start. So, okay, this is one edge of the triangle house thing. Okay? Cool. I'd like to say pay attention, chat. This will be on the exam, but... that's not... There's no exam here. If there is, I'm not qualified to have it. Hold it. And this one stops before it, because that one doesn't go out all the way out to the edge, because we have this platform here. So we need to draw it like out like that, kinda, sort of, maybe. And then we need to have a line that comes out here, but this line kinda needs to adhere. Maybe I should sculpt it first a little bit. Now the big question, does that sucker adhere to the perspective? It's closer to this line, and like, yeah, kinda a little bit, but it's also a little bit off, so they are converging towards that one, so it probably needs to go a little bit. Or no, they're not converging in this side. They're converging. The vanishing point is over here. I'm an idiot. Yeah, then I think that it makes sense that it is. But this is the widest point, chat, so it needs to stop at the widest point. Because that corner over there is, I don't know, probably this corner right here, right? This one and this one and the same. Okay? Okay. Now. Okay. They say a good way of learning is to explain the thing that you want to learn, to, you know, break it down into simple explanations for others that others can follow. Because if you can explain it, basically, if you can explain a complex subject matter to somebody who's like, I don't know my left from my right, then it demonstrates a great deal of understanding on your end on the subject matter. So, hence the yapping. It's in case you want to learn. If there's something you can glean from this, all the better. And If not, it is what it is. All right. I suppose, like, if you really wanted to speed this up, you would... I don't know. Not speed this up, but you would... To get even more bang for your buck of this exercise, you would probably, like... You might start with something like that, and then you would do something like this. And then you would... Excuse me. You would do it multiple times. The same shape in... sort of like multiple iterations of the same shape, but from different angles and stuff. To increase your spatial awareness. And we need to patch up this line here because that's just how it goes sometimes. All right. So now we have the curve. This is a very, I don't know, maybe it's just badly distorted because of the perspective. I don't like, the proportions don't match, but yeah, no, let it go. Don't worry about it, chat. Don't worry about it. We will, don't worry about that. I suppose the important part here is that we try and make a genuine effort towards the practicing the method. I suppose is more important than a shiny, sparkly, pretty result. Right? That's why we do studies. You know, we're like, yeah, they're ugly and they're hideous, but you know, who cares? You are... I mean... This probably needs to could point a little bit more this way, question mark? Yeah. The question is, of course, how am I going to be able to, like, transfer these quote-unquote beautiful lines? They're messy, but they're pretty. Like they have soul, as I yapped about. The question is, how do you do that with the line art? Oh. I mean, again, there are no rules in art, so technically speaking, I could just be using this brush and just do this, but I'm also a sucker for very... Yeah, that one looks... The perspective of that one is off. I can see that now, but let it go, as the song tells us. I never watched Frozen, now that I think about it. Did I miss something, chat? Did I miss out? Is it worth seeing? I have board game night with the boys now on Saturday. And usually, more often than not, we watch a movie after we lose horribly at some board game or one board game or another, but yeah, we maybe like, what do you guys want to see? Like, Walt Disney's Frozen. Oh, probably laugh me out. Get banned from the group. Or maybe not. Maybe they will go like, you know what? You're on, dude. Diggy, you're absolute madman. Let's do it. Like, I did not expect that to go as far as it did. Alright. Well, I mean, it is shaping up to be something, chat. And now we need... Maybe I can just... Alright, so. And of course, can we repeat that success at the bottom here? That's the big question. That's the big question, chat. I mean, it looks promising. But it's also very liberating to work on a temp layer like this. Let's just go like, if you mess up completely, guess what? You just delete everything that's on the layer and you start fresh. That being said, when you kind of just nail it on more or less on the first try because you're a Giga Chad, yeah, oh, I forgot, because you would see the bottom plane here, so we need a super tiny little line that indicates the bottom line, bottom plane. Right. I think we're good, chat. I think we're good. Let's not do that now. All right. So, what I was thinking about... Oop. I stumbled upon on Pinterest a couple of tutorials. There's this one, which is just more like, you can see that? Yeah, you can see that. You set up your perspective grid, and then use basic shapes, and then you distort them, and then you use shadow shapes, and sort of build it up like that. Granted, like this is a little bit toonified style. We could do it. So that is one option. But I also found this one. And this one is also like, granted it's for color, and I'm doing manga with halftones and black and white. But sometimes we go like, it is also just keep it simple, stupid. And granted, like, we have to work around with a very limited, like, we don't have a color palette. We don't we quote unquote don't have that much variation. We have black and white mostly, but the core principle behind this tutorial here is sound, right? A basic box, you pick your shadow side, and then you make a window template like this, and then you kind of break that in, use a perspective distortion to distort it. I mean, and again, these can just be flat planes that you distort in with the perspective transformation tool, right? Don't have to make it complex. And this is just one line that you just replicate, and then you just do vertical, you erase them vertically to create the gaps between the windows, and then, you know, selection painting to add values to them, and then you got like some simple detailing on top of that again, which, so again, that one also looks doable. But this one was like what really caught my eye, considering like we've been working on extruding shapes like this, and you know, starting with a basic flat profile and then putting that profile in perspective and then extruding it and then modifying it. Right, then, you know, so it is basically a combination of the profile and wood chopper kind of thing. You start with a profile and then you just turn that profile in perspective and then you just turn that into one big chunky box, and from there you sort of cut away the excess and leave away the rest of it. Okay, like, let's try that. Right? Maybe not necessarily specifically in this style, but this gives you an idea. Like, start flat, keep it simple, stupid, distort it in perspective, extrude, and then trim away. Extrude into one big box. So instead of, so you don't have to worry about cutting out all of this. You can sort of think of this just like one big box. But instead of worrying about cutting out this thing in perspective, you sort of just start with this, and that is your box, basically. All right. Talk is cheap. Let's get going. All right. I just want to start. All right. Yeah. Let's just. Start with a very. Is that it? Oh, it was just a graphical glitch. I mean, we could do a little bit opposite of what this guy is doing, just for shits and gigs, I guess. Something like that. All right, yeah. And then we go down like such. And we can go a little bit out. And now we go up, out, in again. I suppose we could just and then if we how is that? Layer, isn't it? Layer, transform, mirror vertically. Now, why do I keep messing horizontally? Boom. All right, we can do that. And then I don't know. We can do this. Yeah, I know what we can do. We can cheese a little bit extra and just do the symmetry ruler. Boom. We can do that. Out and then in again, just to, you know, get an interesting profile going. And then out, down, and then in again. Yeah, and then it goes, you know, down, and then out, a bit. And it goes way down. And it goes up, over quite a bit, actually. Even more, I think. Anyway. It's not that important that I follow exactly. But we do like to have a bit of... We do like ourselves a little bit of symmetry, don't we, chat? Of course we do. Like such. It's almost about as much for me as it is for finding tools that work. Like that, separating the different. This is a narrow one, and then yeah, we can just keep that as the last sort of like last house on the end. And it has 2 more houses, but we will just cut it off with that last one there, which has like this Minecraft end piece of just a bunch of like stairs like such. Symmetrical, beautiful. You'll love to see it. All right. All right, and now we kind of need sort of the detailing of the houses, and yeah. Let's just do the symmetry ruler again, because why not? There we go. Oh. Neat, but I don't necessarily need it. And we're just gonna trim away this. Right. And then we also have a bit of a pipe sticking up here. Something like that. Beautiful. All right. And we also have... Oh, that's not what I wanted. There's a very flat and uninteresting sketch lines, but whatever. Symmetry ruler for the win. I think this is roughly speaking the center point of it all. Something like that. Alright. don't get too caught up in the specifics. I'm not. If I copy this, paste. No. Alright, symmetry ruler, you're very nice, but we don't need you right now. We need to copy paste. I suppose the important thing is the it's not necessarily to faithfully replicate the reference, but it's to go like to make a complex silhouette and then just chip away at it. So as much as I would like to get lost in the details, this is go like don't get lost in it. I was looking like, don't get lost in the details. Don't do that, Diggy. You're an idiot. If you get lost in the details. And we're just gonna create some shoddy looking stairs because why not? We don't need this stuff anymore. And, you know, we can just, again, keep it simple. Stairs are... I've wrestled with stairs before, and holy smokes, they can... Perspective-wise, they can certainly melt your brain a little bit. Alright. And then you have, like... I don't know. A door. A double door. Oop. I kind of wanted it. Beautiful. Look at that. That stairway doesn't make any sense, but screw it. Alright, and of course, you know. Alright, you know what? We're just gonna be efficient here, chat, and we're just gonna... What did I just... Oh, Alright, so we're just gonna put that there, kinda, sort of, almost, and... Do we need a curved window somewhere else on this recording? No, oh, of course that was the last curved window. But we do need vertical windows. So we can just copy. Paste. Whee! And we're just gonna put those down here. Collapse everything down to one sketch layer. Boom! Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Alright. Alright. So, like... Apparently, I didn't get that memo that one of them was supposed to have like a... angled house. Let's see if we can fix that, chat. Yeah, let's fix that. People wonder why art is so expensive. This is why art is so expensive, because it takes freaking forever to do stuff. And I'm not... Granted, I'm not the fastest chump on the street either, so yeah. Alright. Yeah. Alright. You know what? Okay. Let's just see if we're going to be a little bit more efficient. The principle... I'm getting a feeling I'm getting a little bit lost in the weeds. So, take a pause, chat, because I need to resupply with some water. But don't touch that dial. I'll be right back in not a couple of minutes. It's not gonna take that long. 1 minute, chat. Be right back. My drawing glove is coming apart. This is my second drawing glove, I noticed, but my first one really did came apart. Like I wore a hole in the pinky finger. Ooh. Okay, cleaning it up a little bit more. Okay, so we're here now. That was stage one, which we spent possibly a little bit too much time on. But now we're on to stage two. And basically, we need to distort this sucker in perspective. And I think we're just going to keep it. We're going to keep it. Can I? It's so annoying that you, when you come to perspective, that you can't like lock it to like go straight up. It's a bit annoying. All right, let's do that. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. Now it's distorted in perspective. All right. That was stage 1, or stage 2. The quote-unquote easy part, because, you know. So now comes step 2, which is extruding the whole gosh darn thing, back into a boxy thing. All right, so let's move this a little bit so we see a little bit more of this, the bottom plane here, a little bit more of so we get a big, good, tasty feel for the boxiness of this whole thing. All right, and okay, and they kind of just cut it up and down. Okay, cool. Let's just do that. You can just cut this down like that and upwards like that. We might even put in a vanishing point. And just trying to find okay, so this one is this is the center line, like this is the center of all right, well, if we pick our horizon line roughly, right about there, right? Then we can move our horizon line. Yeah, let's just... Again, I think that is relatively arbitrary, but let's see if we can... Yeah, why not? Okay. We are kind of... Again... Just give it a custom color so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. Okay. Scaffolding, chat. We're using some scaffolding. Let's go. Alright, because... Alright, this is going to be a royal. That would be a royal pain in the butt to draw out. Okay. Alright. We have the bottom line here, top line there. Probably something like that. Not necessarily the easiest when you have such a chunky brush like I do, but, you know, I'm an idiot. Alright, we're just gonna ignore that top line there. It's a tangent. You idiot, but yeah. Whatever. I suppose we could just do... Oh. Snap eraser. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I might actually just go over all of these. Now that I think about it, and just make the extruded lines thinner, because that makes me feel better. I don't know. Come on. All right. Okay, let's not get too lost in the weeds here, but he says as he gets lost in the weeds, like an idiot that he is. Whatever. Here we are. Lost in the weeds. Alright, that one is fine. These two needs to be separated. Gotta keep them separated, chat. Gotta keep them separated. Ah! There we go. Oh, wow. That was... There we go. Something like that. Oh. Alright. Okay. Okay. Right. You don't extrude those in, right? And I like, oh yeah, from step 4, and then I go like, then you just draw the rest of the box. But like, you have, to be fair, you have already done a lot of the heavy lifting with like at least the front side of it, with this stage. Like this does a lot of the heavy lifting. Right. Okay. So now we sort of, kind of, no. No. Now that we have that, we can also... No, that's not that. It's on this layer. Go away. Alright. These are very plain looking, but that's okay. That's okay, chat. And of course it's that one. God dang it. But I suppose we could also take this one and tilt it backwards. Alright, so I think we're just gonna we can lock you, but we can also turn your visibility off, because then I can draw. Yes, then I can draw freely. Yay! Alright. So now, the next... I suppose, like, technically speaking, you would also, like, extrude this. I can do that right now, just real quick. Turn your visibility on. Just for sample's sake. Extrude out the staircase. Alright, Extrude it out. And yeah. Something like that. Look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. And then we would lose all of this stuff. We can collapse that down and yeah. Collapse that down and then don't get lost in the details like an idiot. Yeah. Oh, crying out loud. Yeah. How would this work? Something like this. Stairs are hard, man. I have like, what is it called? Frame Perspective Volume 1. I think that it has like a whole section about stairs, man. Oh my god, my brain is already turning to mush, and that is a super tiny detail in the grand scheme of things. We're not doing that now. The important thing is a bigger fish to fry, basically. All right, so what I'm interested in is just go like, we need to find, right? I'm kind of interested in, of course, we can do also a micro example of this one, kind of like they did here, because I feel like this is a key component, question mark, to the whole thing. And I don't know, maybe I should just be so bold and just be a bit bold and do that. And I think we're gonna, again, I think we're just gonna lock this. Because I think, chat, it might be important to work non-destructively, and I also think that it's important to like work in stages, and each stage is dedicated to solving one problem at a time. And when you take enough steps like that and stages, and you align them together, align them up, and you go through them one by one, you have a process. Woohoo! And then you just go like, and hopefully by the end of that process, you have something that is worthwhile. And if it's worthwhile, then you're gonna go like, you're happy with the result. You go like, yeah, cool. Look at me go. And if you're not happy with the result, then you kind of go like, all right, you refine your process, I think. Or alternatively, you abandon it completely and in favor of something new and shiny that you saw on TikTok or whatever. All right, so okay, so this edge here, stays. Right? So we're cutting off. We're trimming the box. It's just a bigger box that is a little bit, that is more complex, but that is kind of the, yeah, I think that's what I miss a lot of how all of these YouTube art cycles are like, oh yeah, this is how you shade the sphere, and once you know to shade the sphere, you can shade pretty much anything. It's taking that basic core principle and apply it to something more complex. That's the thing that I've been sleeping on, I suspect. And I also noticed, I just noticed that okay, so we need to be able, like, we need to find the angle of the angle of the roof, sure, but like the angle of the roof also needs to be able to like actually be inside of the and I mean, we can just copy, we can just be super efficient, chat, and just go like that. Boom. Because that's the corner there, that's the corner there. Boom. Look at me, Giga Brain. And we need a line that adheres to the perspective, but it's further back, and we want it to be a little bit messy and dynamic. So we do it like this, and we move it so that it intersects there. And we know that this one roughly aligns with the perspective. It's a little bit messy. It's a bit of a messy line, but it's okay, Chad. It's okay. No, you don't have to be super pretty. Not in this stream. And we will just get rid of the excess, like such. Because here, at least at this stage, we don't want to get so hung up on super pretty, perfect lines. Okay. So now... okay, now we can do the bottom. We can do the bottom line, and now we have like a diagonal plane in perspective based on... yeah, okay, I can see the workflow, chat. Hey, Amber, thank you for stopping by. What's up? Not much. My brain is melting because we're dealing with trying to figure out perspective or stuff. So if you hear weird dripping noises, it's probably just the brain that is, my brain that is leaking and dripping all over the floor. All right, so where were we? We are here, and I mean, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Temp layers, gotta work on temp layer. Let's see, we can do this, and we can do this. Some cool and attractive arts for my channel? I mean... sure, why not? But if it's gonna, like, if you're looking for Discord, all right, well, not gonna make it again, not gonna make any promises, but we'll have to see, Amber. We'll have to see. Well, if you're waiting for my request, I have to wait until after stream. Okay, so. Okay. So that is that plane. Ah, no. 10 player. 10 player chat. This is how we do it here. And we can be messy, but also in a weirdly non-destructive way. Big shout out to Control plus Paint, for teaching me that little trick. Da, 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 da. But a little thing about tricks that you pick up on YouTube or wherever, you gotta start implementing them. If not, they're not really worth. They could be neat as you want, but otherwise, if you're not implement them, you kind of just disappear into the void, as it were. Right. Yeah, man. I mean, this sketchy workflow is really growing on me, chat. It really is. Like, it's time consuming, but it's just like, I don't know, peaceful, meditative. Like, yeah, look at me go. Da, 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 da. Oh, that was maybe a little bit too much, I guess. Oh, yeah. Big arm movements and holding, trying to avoid a death grip on the stylus. Alright. Sculpting the lines. Okay. Cool. Alright. Yeah, these probably should have been lower down on the I suppose we could. Let's do that, chat. We're allowed to change our minds in this here stream. So we're just gonna lower these lines to about here-ish. Right. I messed that one up. That's not what I wanted. something like that. And you want to go. Yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, something like that. And we can just draw that line and then the rest. Like such. Again, there's probably way more effective ways to approach a sketch, but whatever. Okay, now like it's that's roughly speaking the same angle, yeah. Okay, so and we can just try that back. And I mean, it is an edge. So yeah, we can just copy that. And then I essentially need to duplicate this line. Like that. And then just trim away the excess like such. Alright, and that's those lines. There's going to be a lot of temp layers because I don't know, it feels like it's just complex. But back in my Doodle Warrior days, that was not unusual. Especially when it came to drawing the nose. There was so much stuff to consider. Or I mean, that does that line even? No, it's excessive. I don't need it. It is not needed. But I might have done. That is fine, but I might have done goofed on this line right here. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. Leave it, chat. All right. let's just leave it. Okay, so that one is... I might be butchering the perspective, but... Then again, like in the grand scheme of things, like, yay! So... I'm an idiot. I might have been a little bit too eager. I'll just replicate this. There's the angle of that edge. And there you go. Like, that is a lot, again, it's a lot of work for that sort of thing, but that is partially because, you know, I haven't done a lot of this. And of course, speed and efficiency is a byproduct of having done something hundreds of times. But even then, even if you are really efficient, they go like, can you imagine? You know, it would still take you a good chunk of time to finish this. Just the construction, I suppose. Never mind the like the rendering of the line art and, you know, shading and detailing. Never mind if you want to color this. Like, holy smokes, depends. That's pretty bad. But I think I'm on to something. In terms of how to... Of course, now I'm a little bit on the fence on how do we... I could, of course, it's still so early in the manga, I haven't really settled for it, but if you want to go for something like this, looking at it, there's some of it, like it's this profile like here, but yeah, again, boxes, lots and lots of boxes. It's not the boxes that is scaring me, it's the detailing. That is what scares me. But I would like to try. Nonetheless, maybe obviously probably not going to be this kind of level of detail, but again, like I do know that like they are cheesing it a lot. They go like, oh yeah, you have like all these little, there's detail work here, but go like shadow, and it's just white boxes with blobs in them. So it's just looking at it, analyzing it, and trying to like extract what you can from it. And they go like, yeah, it's one big box, and then it's divided into lines. There's a couple of two big lines and some small lines. Boom, you're done. One rectangle, and then you divide it by lines. So I can cheese it that way. Also the sense of scale. But another thing, I also managed to get the Blender plugin to work. I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't be working because like I had Blender via Steam and Steam updated it to the latest version, or I updated it to the latest version because I'm an idiot. But thankfully I found so I had to uninstall it because it wasn't working properly the way that I wanted it, or some of the stuff that I use in Blender no longer work because it's no longer compatible, because yay. So I also looked at some YouTube tutorials on how to like quickly generate the baseline of a city. So that is also an option. Like I can definitely use this approach for like more detailed shots, but establishing shots like this, again, I don't know. It looks cool. Again, the angle is, I don't know, maybe it does work. Maybe maybe mine looked dull and uninteresting because it was just not an interesting. Yeah, that might be it. It's just the composition maybe that wasn't interesting. Could also be like the straight up page panel layout wasn't interesting. Got a little bit lost in the establishing shot. Like, yeah, again, like establishing shot needs to be big, but it could also be like it could be like this, just one big vertical, because then you get the vertical scale of the city. A lot of stuff to consider, chat. A lot of stuff to consider. So much to consider, so little time. But yeah, this is slow and steady wins the race by all means, but it is the way forward, I think. You kind of just need to figure out what keep doing it until you keep doing it until you internalize it and it becomes automatic and it becomes very good and proficient and efficient at it. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'm now just trying and failing somewhat. Trying, but yeah. So stream plans for 2026 is good. Like, I honestly do not remember even if I mentioned this, but going away from this more structured approach and just that I have now, and because and just stream more frequently, but less adhering to a schedule, as devastating as that might be for like regular viewing audience. But allowing myself to be a little bit more dynamic with streams. But then again, I don't necessarily care too much about cartering and creating a big audience. That's just kind of like just a side effect. No big ambitions of being the next PewDiePie or something like that. That is not what I'm here for. It's just a way of staying accountable to myself, I guess. Accountability. Also because I kind of impulse bought a microphone. I go like, oh yeah, let's do that. I go like, wasn't the most again, it wasn't the biggest and most expensive microphone on the market, but again, it's stuff like that. But yeah, like alternating between doing working on the manga and go like I run into a problem which I'm guaranteed to do, and from there I will just take it, do a stream like this where I'm just like wrestling with that problem, trying to look for solutions, experiment a little bit, and get some mileage of that under my belt a little bit, and then go back and try again in context this time, like context free first and foremost, and then try to tackle it again in context after not having to deal with any of the stresses and messes of it. Like, but I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, that kind of cheesed out of it, but yeah, okay, like, I think that's one that's also like sloped in both ways. Kind of interesting. Kind of like that one. But yeah, like ideally speaking, I maybe should have started with this big boy right out the stream or much early in the stream, but like yeah, this is the way, as they say in Star Wars. This is the way. But real quick, I kind of just want to, right on the tail end, just try this one. All right. How do we do that? We'll just. Come on. What? Boom. I'm just curious to what this would look like in like manga context, if you will. So if you're gonna start with an all black, right? And we're just gonna copy that. And we're like, all right. So we have two sides with the skyscraper, and we're just gonna distort it. A little bit in perspective. Like that. This one as well. We're just gonna distort it a little bit in perspective. All right, like such. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's just keep they can be on the same layer, but we're just gonna keep them separated. Gotta keep them separated. Okay, and then we're just gonna keep this very simple. And we're just gonna make some quick windows like that. We're gonna use the duplicate strat. I'm gonna lock that inks layer because I'm gonna, with how messy my brain is, I'm gonna screw that up. All right. Probably. Yeah. Let's just settle with that. Okay. So now we do something like that, and then I don't know. We do look like 20. And then maybe we do 10. Why not? Guess just to create some visual variation into it. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, and we make a copy of that, so we have that. And then we just, in theory, we align this with this, and we maybe we will shrink it down a little bit so it's not so close to the edges. Align it with the perspective. Yeah. Something like that. Boom. And then we can also maybe we do something like that just for, again, variety's sake. Perspective distortion, and again, I suppose we could just align it with the basic shape. Like that, and then that, because now it's smaller and it fits. And now it fits. Yeah, like that. And you know what? We're gonna go in here. And we are going to erase a line for additional visual variation. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer, like an idiot. Of course I am. Oh yeah, all right. Visual variety. And we're gonna collapse those down to the inks. I don't think that, screw it, whatever. I'm gonna take this and we're gonna yeah, this one doesn't align properly with the perspective, but then the big question is, can we probably not. Yeah, because of the perspective, so you can't quickly and easily reuse those, unfortunately. But the interesting thing is, I'm kind of curious if we filter mask and halftone, and then I mean, yeah.
The one who makes the dead rise and become zombies.
Oh, something.
Become zombies.
Right. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. Right. Like again, like it's very. Get out of here. It's very, again, it has the same issue that I saw that I had in my manga. Like it's too basic, too simplistic. Right? This one has more attention to detail, render polish. It's like, this is very, very, very simplistic. But I would assume it's this, but you just need to crank it up to like 100. But this is the core principle of it. It's just that cranking it up. It's that cranking up part that is what scares me. Yeah.
Makes the dead rise and become zombies. Become zombies.
But, you know, the more again, like, if we're gonna do analysis of this little thing here, we go like, yeah, okay. Home and D. Right, you have, like, you have your horizon line about here. But no, it's not. That's not the horizon line. Where is the perspective on this little sucker? Like, that one comes over there. So okay, so the horizon line is something like that. And, you know, compositional wise, I think, isn't that like 1/3? Looks like 1/3. from the top. 1, 2. No, it's not. It's not exactly on the 3rd, but yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I guess. Okay, I can get rid of that layer. And I can get that reference out. And I can. I don't know where. I don't even know where to put that. It doesn't even like it doesn't belong. But yeah. Okay, like I think we're on to something. It's just significantly underestimating the time and effort that goes into an establishing shot. But of course, then you have the predicament like, what's the quote unquote best approach of making comic? Do you just plan, finish one panel and then move on to the next? No, you probably thumbnail the entire page, I would assume. And then once thumbnail the page, really rough it out, panel layout, the whole 9 yards, and then I'll go like, pooey pants, I might have to restart the whole page. But that's fine. It's how we learn, chat. It's how we learn. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yeah. And not rush it. I definitely don't think I'm gonna rush it. Like if I try to set a goal for myself to finish the manga by the end of 2026, that should be doable. Like if I dedicate an entire year to just go like, this is my project, and the deadline is 2026. And I will probably try and document everything on stream, because why not? That seems to be the plan, chat. I think that will be the route forward. The big concern is the streaming schedule, but I kind of like, I stream 3 days a week because I go like, that is just, I want to like to have it to be sustainable, because I'm also, you know, we'd be working full time, and also life throws you curveballs, and then also, you know, family obligations, social obligations, and so on and so forth. Don't want to be terminally online and all of that. So, but a stupid part of my brain is like when I sort of like have an appointment, when I've made a commitment, it's just go like, it's tough for me to sort of walk away from that. But then again, it's not. It's kind of mean to say it, but you know, don't have much of a streaming audience, so and with a slight, with a very casual approach to it. Like this is not a change in career for me, streaming or making comics. It's just a hobby. It might be a little bit healthier outlet to just go like, you know what? Let's not overpromise ourselves. Let's just do something. Let's just take it a little bit casual, a little bit loose, but still stream multiple days. But I would still like try to go like, it will probably be from 6 p.m. But like it's just the days might be a little bit. I might be playing a little bit fast and loose with the days chat. And if a small following spawns from it, then it comes from that, then it does come from it. If not, then well, it's no big loss as far as I'm concerned. Not everybody can be PewDiePie. Not everybody needs to be PewDiePie. So, there it is. Right, but we're gonna stick with the schedule out the year. Obviously, towards the tail end of December, things are gonna be wacky because of holidays and whatnot. But which basically means Friday, 6 p.m. is gonna be the next big thing. And then, yeah, we'll just have to redo the first panel and just bang my head around panel layout and composition. Take it slow. Don't. I think that was the biggest mistake from doing the first page. Is just like I jumped ahead to step 20 when I should be going through step 1, 2, 3 a little bit more thoroughly and iterate on things and so on and so forth. A little bit too aggressive with the improve by progressing. Right. Trying to find that delicate balance between not losing yourself to perfectionism, not spinning your wheels at perfectionism, but also at the same time like don't settle for slop, if that makes sense. Yeah. Enough yapping for me. Yeah. So Friday, 6 p.m. Amber, I guess I'll check you out if you're still in chat. I'll check it. Check out your requests. And until then, keep drawing, keep having fun. I'll see you soon. Okay? Bye-bye.